Hello, in this video I'm showing this position from the game Petrosian Pachman. White is to move and he's winning. White took on f6 and black had to take, because if he doesn't, then knight on e7 is also falling and the whole position is collapsing. So king had to take on f6 and now bishop e5. The point of bishop e5 is not to allow king to go back to g7 and g8, where it would find safety, and the queen sacrifice wouldn't make any sense. And now black has two options, either f5 or g5 square. If he goes to f5, then white has a series of checks. Rook f4, king g5, and bishop f6. After which black is forced to go either to h6 or h5, but in both cases we have this checkmate on h4. So a better solution is to go to g5, and now white plays bishop g7. He's cutting down those two squares, doesn't allow king to get close to getting out of this cage. And the only two squares left are f5 and h5, and also g5. So the only task remaining for white is to cut every single square remaining, maybe starting with h4 check. So if black tries to play some random move like b6, then white first gives a check on with h4, and if black plays king h5, bishop f3 is a checkmate. If he goes to f5, then bishop h3 is a checkmate. If he tries to go to h5 first, with the idea of playing g5 and king g6, trying to get out somehow, white doesn't allow that. He plays rook h4, forcing black to get in front of his g-pawn, king g5, and now f4, forcing the checkmate, king f5 and bishop e4. So the only move which is left, which is remotely sensible, was knight f5 here. And this is the reason why black resigned after bishop g7. Because even if he plays knight f5, then white plays f4, and on king g4, because after king h5 he has this checkmate. So king g4 is would be more resilient, but still, knight e5 check, king h5, and now bishop f3. And like I said, this is the reason why after bishop g7 black resigned. And you saw in this example that material advantage doesn't mean anything if it's not properly used. And this extra queen on b5 doesn't mean anything if it's if your king is in danger and it cannot provide any defensive resources. On the king side, white had two rooks, two bishops, a rook, and in one variation the knight came to e5, so it was also involved in the attack, while black had only a couple of pawns and the knight on e7, which isn't enough. And also black's king was very exposed and had little space to maneuver, and he wasn't on its regular place where it should belong, which is g7 and g8. It was on g5 in the open, and white used that fact. That was all, and see you later. Goodbye.